All right, so we're diving into something today that might not sound super exciting right off the bat,
Yeah.
but stick with me on this one, all right? Because we're talking about something that honestly affects a lot of us.
Yeah, it does.
It's mileage reimbursement.
Uh-huh.
And whether you are driving for work or just trying to figure out your taxes, this stuff matters.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you, going through the sources you gave me for this deep dive,
Yeah.
I learned some things that honestly surprised me.
Oh, really? Like what?
Like, did you know that where you drive can actually change how much you get back?
It's true. And when you start thinking about it, mileage reimbursement isn't just about, making sure employees are happy and all that.
Right.
It's a whole legal and financial can of worms.
Yeah.
Companies can get into some seriously hot water if they don't have their act together with this stuff.
Okay, so let's break this down.
Okay.
We've got 12 common mistakes that people make.
All right.
And I got to tell you, going through these sources was a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
Let's start with the first few,
Okay.
which are really all about having the right systems in place.
Makes sense.
And the first one, I have to admit, makes me cringe just thinking about it.
What is it?
It's manual reporting.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, who has time for spreadsheets and shoeboxes full of receipts these days?
Nobody. Nobody.
I'm right.
And it's not even just about the time.
Yeah.
Think about it like manually entering all that data. You're practically begging for errors.
Yeah, that's true.
Which means you could be overpaying people, underpaying people,
Right.
or even worse, opening yourself up to accusations of fraud.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's serious stuff.
So that leads us right into the next mistake,
Okay.
which is having no clear policies.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
This would be like a nightmare, I think, if I was an employee.
Oh, it is for a lot of people.
If you don't even know what counts as mileage,
Right.
how are you supposed to track it accurately?
Exactly.
Can I expense my commute?
Yeah.
What about driving between meetings? Like,
Yeah, all those little things.
so many questions.
And that's where inconsistent policies really become a problem.
Okay.
Because you could have employees being reimbursed like totally differently for doing the same exact trip.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just about being fair to everybody.
Right.
It can actually lead to legal challenges.
Seriously?
Remember, the IRS, they can come knocking.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be able to back up what you're doing with your reimbursement practices.
Okay, so speaking of the IRS,
Oh.
using the wrong reimbursement rates is the next one on our list.
Ah, yes, another tricky one.
I mean, what's the point of tracking every single mile
Right.
if you're not even getting the right amount back?
Well, exactly. And this is where it gets a bit technical.
Okay.
The IRS, they publish these standard mileage rates every year.
Uh-huh.
And using the wrong one, whether it's outdated or just plain wrong, can lead to penalties.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You can actually find the current rates and all the details you need in IRS publication 463.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah, write that down. I will.
So next up, we've got inadequate records.
Okay.
This is a recipe for a financial nightmare, especially if you get audited.
I can imagine.
So just imagine, okay, you get audited by the IRS,
Uh-huh.
and they ask you to prove your mileage claims from like 3 years ago.
Oh, no.
If you don't have detailed records, not only could you face penalties, but you might have to actually pay back reimbursements you already got.
Seriously?
It's not just for companies either.
It's not.
This applies to individuals too.
Wow.
Think of it like this. Your records are your evidence in a financial court case.
Okay, so we need clear systems.
Yes.
Accurate records.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Good.
But, even with the best intentions, I know I've made this next mistake.
Which one is that?
Mixing personal and business expenses.
Oh, yeah.
You're running a quick errand during a work trip,
Uh-huh.
and you just throw all the receipts together.
Happens all the time.
Easy mistake to make.
It is.
But maybe not so easy to fix later. No, not at all. It's really important to keep those things separate.
Okay.
It's crucial for accurate budgeting and accounting.
Right.
Imagine trying to, analyze your company's spending
Uh-huh.
or prepare your taxes with a jumbled mess of receipts.
Yeah, not fun.
Not fun at all.
Plus, I bet if you ever get audited, that's a huge red flag.
You bet it is. So let's move on to some mistakes that are all about consistency.
Okay. Consistency.
Yeah, inconsistent reporting, for example.
What did that even mean?
It's all about how you present your mileage information.
Okay.
If your expense reports look different every month,
Uh-huh.
with different formats missing information or sudden changes in your mileage patterns,
Yeah.
that raises eyebrows
I bet it does.
because it signals potential errors,
Mhm.
just sloppiness.
Right.
And in the worst case scenario, even fraud.
So consistency is key.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Good. Now what happens if some errors slip through the cracks?
Okay, yeah.
We're talking about late reviews and data.
That really a big deal.
It's like letting a small leak turn into a major plumbing problem.
Uh,
Without timely reviews, mistakes can go unnoticed for months,
uh-huh.
potentially leading to ongoing non-compliance
Right.
and missed opportunities to improve your system.
Oh,
It's not just about fixing the errors, it's about learning from them and making your system better.
yeah. Okay, I got it.
Good. So the next one is something I think a lot of people are guilty of,
What's that?
ignoring technology.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. I'm a little old school myself sometimes.
Okay.
But even I'm starting to see how valuable apps and software can be for this.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they can do these days.
There's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean, think about apps that track your miles automatically,
Uh-huh.
categorize your trips, and even generate those IRS compliant reports.
Wow.
It just takes all the guesswork out of it.
Yeah,
And it significantly reduces the risk of human error.
that's huge.
So we've covered a lot of potential pitfalls so far.
We have.
But what about actively looking for problems? Not having audits. That can be a mistake.
Oh, really? I never would have thought of that.
It's a big one.
Okay.
Regular audits aren't just about catching those mistakes.
Right.
They're about deterring fraud
Oh.
and making sure your systems are working the way they're supposed to.
It's like a financial health checkup
Exactly.
for your mileage
Your
reimbursement.
whole process, exactly.
Okay, so let's switch gears for a second
Okay.
and talk about the people involved.
All right, the human factor.
Yeah. What happens when employees feel like they're getting the short end of the stick?
That's huge.
Yeah.
If your team feels like they're not being reimbursed fairly,
Right.
it can really damage morale,
Uh-huh.
decrease productivity,
Yeah.
and even lead to people trying to make up for those perceived losses,
Oh, wow.
which creates even bigger problems.
Okay, so last but not least,
Right.
let's circle back to that location variance you mentioned at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So where I drive really does affect how much I get back.
Absolutely. Remember those IRS rates we talked about?
Uh-huh.
Well, they can actually vary a lot based on location.
Really?
Yeah, because of things like differences in gas prices and the cost of living.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's why it's so important to have systems in place that are sophisticated enough to account for these variances.
Okay.
You need to make sure everyone is being reimbursed fairly and accurately,
Right.
no matter where their work takes them.
Wow, this deep dive has really been eye-opening.
It has been a lot of information.
It's clear that mileage reimbursement is about way more than just tracking miles.
It is.
It's about fairness, compliance,
Yeah.
and having systems that actually work.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's great.
So it's a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Take a close look at your current practices.
Okay.
Are there any hidden pitfalls lurking in your mileage reimbursement processes?
Ooh, good question.
It might be time for a review.
That's great advice. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of mileage reimbursement.
The mysterious and often confusing.
Hopefully you're leaving today feeling a bit more informed
Yes.
and maybe even a little empowered to navigate this often overlooked but incredibly important aspect of finances.
Absolutely.
Until next time.